Welcome. This is AllMinucOne Quick Shots. Hello, folks. I hope everyone is doing well today. I just wanted to talk about a few quick things, and that is this: the stimulus package. The stimulus package that has been talked about for months and months and months. Yes, there was one early on within the lockdowns. And there was a lot of debate and there was a lot of nonsense on both sides of the aisle. If you are out there and you are blaming the Democrats for holding the original package back, you were technically right. Only because they were trying to sneak in things like the Green New Deal. At the same time, if you're going to say that the right held things back, you were technically right. But only because they were trying to give these larger corporate bailouts. So you see, this is how ineffectual our government is. Here recently, I've been seeing a lot of things by people talking about how Donald Trump is refusing to give a stimulus package. Yet, Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary of Treasury, has been working with Nancy Pelosi, or at least talking with her. And whatever that they're trying to get done that's appropriate isn't getting done, because apparently Nancy Pelosi wants to put a bunch of pork, Democratic, progressive nonsense in there. See, if our government was truly for the people, they would just do such a thing. Now, many people on the left are blaming Donald Trump and saying, well, it's his fault that he won't pass it, blah, 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 blah. And he tweeted that he wasn't going to do anything till after the election. Now, why might that be? Well, most likely, he believes that there will be a gain in the House and that the Senate will remain, and then they will be able to actually pass something without having to worry about the complete approval of the Democrats. Now, of course, all of this is nonsense because while they go through these talks, it holds you hostage. But just for the sake of transparency, I, of course, have stated I'm going to vote for Donald Trump for various reasons. And one of the reasons is this. The Republicans had the House, right? If you remember, Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House until the midterm elections. But they did nothing because the Republicans were against Donald Trump. Why is that? Is that because he's a fascist? No. It's because he's not a globalist. He's not a business as usual guy. He's not, let's continue this spending overseas as if the Cold War is still going on. The only Cold War that is really going on right now is right here in the USA between the radicals, regressives who want a communist utopia brought in, which won't happen. It'll just be a dystopia, as all communist utopias are, and the Chinese. And as far as military actions go, the Chinese really aren't an issue. It's more of a trade war we're in with them that we need to be in because we've been getting unfair trade deals for a very, very long time. And that has been purposeful. It's the reason why our economy has been so volatile, at least one of the reasons. But the main reason is actually what I want to get to. And that is the national debt. That is the idea of quantitative easing. That is that the federal budget continues to rise over and over again, even though GDP is not growing at the same rate. Why do we have more federal spending? Have you ever asked yourself this? Why does the government continually, the federal government that is, continually need to grow exponentially? Why does it need to tax you more? Why does it need to do all these things? Now, one of the things, and the leftists like this, one of the things that the government mainly spends its money on is Medicare. It is something like 25%, I believe, of the budget. My numbers might be slightly off, but it's a large portion. The other 25%-ish, 20%-ish is Social Security. Both those programs, by the way, are progressive leftist programs. And both those programs are horrible for the nation. Now, I know. There are people out there that think, oh, no, it's great for the nation that I have to rely on the government. Yeah, you're a weak person. Sorry, folks. You are. You're just a weak individual. You don't want to take care of yourself. You would never be able to live out in the woods. You'd never be able to live without other people in society. Like, where do your ancestors come from? Because my ancestors were people who traveled here Like, as far as I know, on my father's side, I have lineage back to the Pilgrims. So, where my ancestors came here, traveled, came to a land that was pretty much empty and barren for them, although there were some things prepared and ready, and then made their way. And they almost starved to death because they tried socialism several times. It wasn't until William Bradford, their governor, decided to read a little scripture and read Paul's quote, "Those who do not work do not eat." So the Puritans wanted to set up some sort of socialist utopia, and it wasn't working because people weren't working. There has to be movement in the economy. There has to be motivation. And I know the lefties that go, so what you're saying, if you don't work, you starve? Yes, you starve. Sorry, folks, you starve unless you're unable to work. That's an intrinsic motive to get you to work. And when we set up all these social safety nets, what we do is we create a weak and lazy society. So other people talk about military spending. That's about 16% of the budget. I think we could cut some. I think we could cut a lot. But that would be about getting out of NATO. That would be getting out of these globalist programs, getting out of these foreign wars. And of course, Donald Trump has been doing all that. But all the anti-war leftists aren't paying attention to that because he's a fascist. If he was a fascist, he would be conducting wars like the last 3 presidencies. 4 if you want to count Reagan, because, 4 would be Bush, but 5, I guess, if you want to count Reagan. Reagan didn't really enact any foreign wars. He did a few minor interventions. So we can argue the semantics there. Regardless, folks, Obama, the Obamer, the droner in chief, that dude was a serious warmonger. We have to can only look at our involvement in Syria and, of course, Libya specifically. We can go back, of course, to the Bush era, which is where everyone started saying that the right were fascists, which is just, again, absurd. That's all the deep state, folks. That goes back to the original Bush. And then Clinton, yeah, he didn't quite start wars, but he did get us involved in Bosnia and Kosovo. Of course, there was Somalia, which everyone likes to forget. And of course, the old CIA Bush, he had us involved in the Gulf War. But regardless, Trump's trying to do less of that. But remember that he was going to balance the budget, that he was going to spend less. What happened? Well, when the Democrats got power, they shut down the government, and then they blamed him over and over and over again. You cannot blame Trump for political actions of people like Nancy Pelosi and others. See, this is all a blame game. But here's the reality. Here's the reality with the stimulus. I want stimulus for the American people, not corporations. I want stimulus for mom and pop stores. Normally, I would say no to this, as I'm a free marketeer and I believe in classical economics, such as the Chicago School or the Austrian School. However, the government unconstitutionally closed down those businesses. The government did these things. Now, I think the state should pay more than the feds, but unfortunately, the feds have the money and the states do not. And the reality is that we are $26 trillion in debt right now. And at the end of all the stimulus that has already passed, we will have added another $3 trillion. It will be up to $29 trillion. And this curve just is ridiculous. It just keeps rising. The rise just goes and goes and goes, administration after administration. The deficits become larger and larger. Now, again, people want to point to Donald Trump, but look at what has been going on for the last 4 years. You have all the deep state nonsense. You have all the Russiagate nonsense, which we know now. The documents have been declassified. They should be redacted. We have known for months, actually, that Obama, Biden, Hillary Clinton, the CIA, the FBI, they were all involved in this to discredit him. Why? Because in the end, the real agenda is to get a globalist one world government. And I know I'm beating a dead horse. I know I'm a broken record. I know I say this over and over again. I say this because you have to understand what's been going on. American jobs have been outsourced for decades. It's one of the reasons why we had a high corporate tax. They do these policies on purpose, folks. It's dictated by things like the Council of Foreign Relations, or just yesterday I talked about, or I showed you a video of things from the World Economic Forum. These things are dictated because they know that over time, we'll bring these people up over here, we'll spread capitalism, we'll bring these other nations up and the wealthy, and Americans they'll handle it because they're the world currency. And eventually we'll devalue their currency and then they'll need bailed out. This is about eroding your sovereignty. And that's what all this debt's about as well, folks. So do I want to see a stimulus to regular folk and family? Absolutely. Do I think that it's not going to be a good thing in the long run? Absolutely. If you pay attention, watch someone like Peter Schiff, for instance, or Neil, what's his name, McCoy Ward, I believe, that I covered a video of his yesterday briefly. Watch these things. Pay attention to what is actually going on a deeper level instead of, well, the Democrats did this and well, the Republicans did this and well, Donald Trump's a fascist and, all that stuff. Folks, Trump is an independent. He is a 90s Democrat. He is literally Bill Clinton with the attitude of Teddy Roosevelt. That is what he is. And he knows better, at least business-wise, that we cannot be doing these crazy things. He's talked about it before. He's talked about the Federal Reserve in the past. The problem is he's only the president. And believe it or not, he's not a king or a dictator and cannot do whatever he wants. He has to get through the House and the Senate, and he has to get through the Republicans and the Democrats, and then he has to face the Supreme Court on top of that, which, by the way, is very left-leaning and will do many things to uphold the deep state, big government, and the corporations and corptocracy. So, again, realize all of this. And if you're a lefty out there and you listen to me, understand that even though I would say I'm right-leaning and I'm a constitutionalist, we have so much in common on the other side of the aisle. I just don't believe in your crazy solutions of burning everything down and communism because it doesn't work, folks. It just doesn't work. But that's pretty much it. That's about all I have to say. With all that, this has been AllMinucOne Quick Shots, and you all be well.